All right, guys. Uh, Hold on. All right. Hopefully, I'm live. Having some issues here with YouTube, but I'm here on my live stream. Let's chat live, and hopefully, it's working. And I don't know, but I want to see maybe it's in the app here. Hopefully, I'm live, guys. Let me know if I'm live. Uh, Give me a like. And if there's anybody out there, give me a little chat to see if I'm live. But I think I'm live. Anyway, Joe Saglimbeni here, uh, live streaming from his YouTube channel, Joe Saglimbeni, and a little bit about me. Blue collar worker, been investing in stocks, real estate for over 3 decades. And today on the show, we're going to talk about debt. And before I go into that subject, just want you guys to know that I am not a financial professional. I don't even play one on YouTube. And just want you guys to do your own due diligence. And if you have any issues with investing in anything, please reach out to your financial professional because this stuff is not a joke. You could lose a lot of money. And this is just opinions from me here on YouTube and on my live stream. So, with that said, let's get into this. Today, we're going to talk about good debt versus bad debt and how basically I use it in my life. So, if you guys ever listen to a guy named Dave Ramsey, he's a financial talk show host who has a podcast and a radio channel and a YouTube channel, and he's very famous about defeating debt, being debt free. And he has learned many things from being in debt and getting in trouble with debt and basically, I think, going bankrupt. And he had to change himself. And he preaches a debt free life, no debt, no credit cards, buying houses with cash, only using debit cards linked to a cash account, no debt, no mortgages, no margin, nothing like that. Well, what do I think about that first? First of all, it's very difficult to live in this current world without some debt. Credit scores are basically based on your debt and how you manage debt. So without a credit score, sometimes you can't get a job. Sometimes you can't get a mortgage. Sometimes you can't get a credit card. Sometimes you can't get a car loan. And I understand these are all, except for the job, these are all debt. But unlike Dave Ramsey, sometimes where you live can be a situation where you need to have a good credit score. So, for example, if you live in the Northeast or the West Coast, or the coast, or Texas, or a big city, you need to create or build your credit score. And the only way you could really build it is by paying your bills on time, trying to apply for a credit card, paying that credit card on time, so that you can create a credit life. Now, Dave Ramsey, I think he lives in Tennessee, and he may have found a way where life is a little bit easier to live in Tennessee, or buying a house is easier to buy in Tennessee, or renting an apartment is easier to rent in, let's say, Tennessee. But here on the coasts, buying a house, not many people. I mean, I would say majority of the people cannot buy a house with just cash. And I actually don't think it's a great idea to, use cash to buy a house. I think you should leverage buying a house. I know it's crazy, but leverage wealthy, even though you may not think it, and maybe even Dave Ramsey may not think it. So let's go into it. What's good debt and what's bad debt? So let's start with the bad debt. Bad debt would be like credit card debt. Debt would be like loans with 12, 13, 14, 20% interest rates, payday loans, loans that you get on the street. That's bad debt. That's debt that accumulates, very hard to get down. The fees, if you don't pay it off monthly, can kill you. If you don't pay it off monthly, it can ruin your credit score. That's an example of bad debt. A credit card with high interest rate can be a very bad debt. What would I consider good debt? So let's go into a debt that may be on the fringe of good or bad. So, for example, a car loan. Is that good debt? You know, let's say you're in the pandemic, you lost your job, you have a crappy car, and you need to get a new car, or you're working and you need to make a little bit extra money because hours have shortened where you work. But you need a car to do this job that you're looking at. So let's say you want to be an Uber driver. Well, you end up leasing or buying a car, paying a loan, borrowing to buy a car. Let's say you're borrowing to buy a car to work Uber. Now, I think that's a good use of debt. You're actually buying a tool. Now, be reasonable. Don't buy a Mercedes Benz. Don't finance a Mercedes Benz. Maybe you finance a little Ford Fusion or something to do your Uber so that you can make a living, and then you use some of that Uber income to pay off the loan and make a side hustle career. That is a good way of using debt in buying a car. Even leasing a car and then buying it at the end, maybe making a deal at the end to make another loan with the bank. So there's an example where people would say, oh, you're crazy, you shouldn't buy a car and finance a car, buy a used car. Okay, maybe you do buy a used car, but you finance it because you need a good car to let this Uber thing, at least in your mind, let it work out for you. So financing cars could be a good or a bad debt. Now let's go to some good debt. A good debt would be a home, a mortgage, buying a house and financing it through a mortgage. Mortgages are typically, 3.5%, 4%, 30-year mortgage. You could use ARMs, you can use 15-year mortgage, you could do stuff like that. Now, why is that kind of debt a good debt? Because depending where you live, real estate, well, at least in my opinion, if you saw one of my live Let's Chat live streams about homes, I believe a home is an asset. So you're financing an asset that has the potential to appreciate in value. I think that's a good use of debt. You're leveraging, let's say, a down payment, and then you're buying an asset, and then eventually you can leverage that asset. You need to take cash out of that asset. You could take cash out of that asset at low interest rates. And that will lead to another version or another way debt could be a good tool. Let's say you own a home for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, and you want to capture this cash. You could either refinance the loan, or you could take a HELOC, home equity line of credit, either as a home equity loan or a HELOC instrument like a card or an account of borrowing 25,000 or 30,000 against the home, low interest rates that are probably variable, and you could use that to fix up your home, to add the pool, to add the deck, to add the windows. Maybe you're doing a new heating or cooling system. And that's another great way to use, or a good way to use debt. Now, I'm not saying that the ultimate goal could be, what I'm saying, the ultimate goal could be to get to being debt free. That could be the ultimate goal. Maybe you become debt free at 60 years old or 65 years old when you retire. But getting there is the key, I think, more importantly. And you can do it in a smart way. The problem with Dave Ramsey, who is one of my favorite financial talk show hosts ever. Maybe one day I will do a video on that, on some of the good things he talks about. But in the case of good versus bad debt, I think you have to look at each individual person's situation and see whether or not that situation is able to use debt in a smart way. And that's what it comes down to. I mean, I have had debt. The last time I was debt free, put it this way, last time I was debt free was when I was 24 years old. And though I may look young, like I'm 24 years old, that's a long time ago. That's over 25 years ago. And I was debt free because I was living in a home, in a multifamily home with my parents, my siblings, just starting to work, just finished college, looking for a job, barely paying rent. I was debt free. But once I started to get a job, buy a home, that's when I started getting debt. And because of that step, I think it has made me, well, one, what I am today, more financially fit. Two, it has increased my wealth because I took a chance of borrowing on my first property. Something that could be difficult to do. Something that can be mentally challenging. And I did it at a relatively young age. And so it has started a wealth. It started an increase of wealth because of that action. And debt was the beginning of that action. No way, no how could I have bought a piece of property at 25 years old with cash. I didn't have enough cash. I didn't even have 50% of the value of the property. 40% of the profit, 60% of I had 30% of the actual cash to buy the property. So I ended up putting down 20%, having a little bit of cash for an emergency, and that was it. That started my financial life. So I think there are good ways to use debt, and I don't think that is bad. I think that's why I said good. I titled as good debt versus bad debt. I could have titled this live stream, Is debt bad for you? Or is debt good for you? Or is there such thing as bad debt? Or is there such thing as good debt? I think it depends on your personal situation and how you manage money. But you have to learn to manage money. Once you learn to manage money, debt does not become a problem. You think that Jeff Bezos, Amazon, I'm sure he used debt to finance the beginnings of Amazon. You think he could have did that with just cash? I don't think so. So that's where I'm at on good debt versus bad debt. Now, some people say, well, Joe, what about a HELOC? Because a lot of people, I think you can use HELOC as a tool. I think it's another thing where is it good or bad? You're kind of leveraging your house. Is it good or bad? I think it leans towards being good. The, the way you can use a HELOC is as an emergency fund. Instead of keeping cash in a checking or savings account that's paying you minuscule interest rates, why not let all your money work for you, all your cash in stocks, in investments, in cryptos, in homes, in a CD, in a higher type of instrument type of savings or checking account. Instead of that, put it towards an aggressive account or account which can appreciate. And if something comes up, you use the HELOC to pay for that situation, that emergency. I think HELOC's a great tool, and it's a tool. You got to use it like a tool. I think that's the smart way. Use debt the smart way. Get a good credit score. Go buy that house. Pay down the debt a little bit. Maybe take a HELOC to fix the house up, make it even more valuable. Maybe put your cash reserves to work and let the HELOC be your emergency. Of course, this all depends on job, whether you're working, whether you have a job. The key is to have a job. Make sure you're stable with that job and then take it from there. All right, guys? So I think I kind of explained my opinions on good versus bad debt. And I hope you guys really like this. Please smash that like button, as one of my favorite YouTubers likes to say. Smash that like button. Share, comment, let that algorithm work for me. And guys, I want to thank you again for another Saturday live stream. And there was little hiccups. There's always hiccups on these live streams. But I want you to know that I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys. And I'm kind of back doing videos again. If you could see, I'm doing more videos. And hopefully it doesn't get too busy at my full-time job, where I can create some videos and continue to do these live streams and help all you guys out there. All right. So on that note, I'm going to say, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Smash like, comment, share. Let that algorithm work for me. And I will see you guys next Saturday. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.